Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted to overcome your obstacles for profound life change, then do we have the Positively Unstoppable show for you. Today I'll be talking with Diamond Dallas Page, retired pro wrestling champion, WWE Hall of Famer, and author of a brilliant book for changing your life, Positively Unstoppable. And that's just what I want to talk with him about today, about the art of owning it for powerful life change. That, plus we'll talk about driving tanks, Chuck Swindoll posters, Yoda and Dr. Kenneth West, kamikaze bars, pink Cadillacs, Club Xanadu, rockin' wrestling, what in the world is Humpty Dumpty Day, and what on earth a Frenchie named Diesel has to do with anything. So welcome, gotcha, welcome to the show, Dallas. Are you ready to shine?
Ready! I'm shining, baby. Ready to go.
All right, please forgive me for asking this. Where did you live in your earliest years, and who did you live with?
I always tell everybody, by the time I was 3 years old, my mom was married, divorced, and had 3 kids. So when my parents split up, my brother and sister went to live with my mom, who in turn had my grandmother raised them. I went to live with my dad. And my dad was a good guy, but he couldn't even spell the word father back then, let alone be one. So I literally bounced from one place to another, kind of like a pinball. Last 2 years, like from 6 and 7, he had gotten remarried to a woman named Elsie, who was a great lady. But they were going to move to Florida, and he was going to start all over again, something we were talking about before the break. And he dropped me off at my grandmother's. And that was the last time I would see him for the next 10 years where he was actually sober. And because he really felt really bad about all that. And that's part of it. And, for me, I could have, looked at it like a lot of people do, where they blame their mother, they blame their father, they blame whatever the situation is because of the drama. And I get it, but you're owning that. Like you're literally owning that story. For me, how I shift it in my own brain, I'm incredibly adaptable. I can literally hang out with CEOs of top companies. And one of my buddies was the Hells Angels chapter leader in New York City. Chuck Zito is one of my good friends for over 15 years. I mean, I can go, on both sides. And I think that bouncing around was, super helpful to me.
Yeah, and there was something, thanks for sharing, there's something that you seem to learn in your earliest years, and I was wondering if it was nature or nurture in this case. Everybody was, like, half of your family's criticizing your mom, half of your family's criticizing your dad, and it sounds like at one point you're like, what's up with this?
Well, I got sick of listening to it, first off. And over a period of time, I started to figure out, and probably wasn't right away, but kind of instinctively, I realized at a pretty early age, there's her story, his story, and then what really happened.
Yeah.
And unless there's a video camera there or 2 or 3 of them, you never really get what exactly really happened. So I also realized they were young. My mom was 17 when she had me. She had 3 kids by the time she was 19. So she was a child. I got one of my daughters. I've got 2. I don't call them stepdaughters. They're my daughter, my wife's daughters, and mine. And they go from 17, who's going to be 18, 22, 25, and 31. And I can't imagine Rachel being a mother. I think she'd be amazing. She's a 17-year-old. Or Lexi, who's 22, I think she'd be amazing. But even at 22, like she wants to live her life and find out who she is, before she starts raising kids and starting to try to influence them who they are. It's really important to know who you are.
Yeah. How did you start to, I'm thinking back, because the next question is, were you a wild child? I'm thinking back in first grade, I was sent back to kindergarten. In second grade, I was sent back to first grade. Tell me about your wild child years and how did you hold on to any sense, we're talking about owning it, sense of self-esteem?
God, when I look at my report cards, because literally I was reading at a third grade level at the age of 30. So who knows where I was through all those early years, but brutal. Like I cheated to get through school. Later on when you had to write papers, I got people to write them for me because there was no way. And it wasn't like they were written A+ papers. They're writing C- papers. you know, um, I just got through mainly because I listened in class when I was there. I was really ADD. No one knew what ADD or dyslexia was in the 60s. They had no idea in the 70s what it was. So, they kind of, I wasn't in like the slow class, but I wasn't in the accelerated class by any stretch of the imagination either. And again, I'd listen to what the teacher said, and I developed relationships. It's something I learned very early on that you to really, people say it's about who you know or who knows you. Yeah. The reality is it's who's willing to say they know you, who's willing to put their name on the line for you. And I had a teacher in 6th grade named Mr. Zarnecki. I'll never forget him. I literally he was super strict. He would come in the back of the class, and if you were talking, he'd grab the back of your hair when they could do things like that in the 60s. But I earned his respect, and he knew, like, he didn't know about dyslexia, but he knew that I was just getting by when it came to it. And some kids, there's, Henry Ford had a 6th grade education. There's plenty of people who don't have the accolades of, high school, college that became millionaires because they figured out how to adapt around it. And that's what I did, and I didn't really know I was doing it, but at the time I was just getting by. I put all my energy into sports. That's what I did.
So let's talk about that. And I was telling you off air, age 10 through 12, I was on crutches. I had my knee rebuilt 6 times. At age 12, something similar happened to you. I believe it was in Paramus. What did they tell you was the outcome?
Actually, I walked out in front of a car. I would say before that I got hit by that car, I would say in my mind, I was going to play the NFL. I literally was going to play defensive line in the NFL, like in the future. That's what I really felt was going to happen. And I've achieved every single goal I've ever set for myself. Maybe not exactly, but right on it, right around it, or I shot way past it. So, when it comes to that, maybe it would have happened, but me walking out in front of that car hit my right knee, my face bounced off the hood, and I flew 42 feet on the point of impact. This is in 1968. There's no such thing as rehab back then. So it's not like I could go to a rehab clinic like you could do today. And you could, one of my buddies, Todd Gurley, who's the #1 running back in the NFL. He tore his entire ACL. Like 15 years ago, his career would have been over. Mm-hmm. But today, he's still the #1 running back, and more touchdowns than anybody. And, he's 24 years old. But my point is that he could rehabilitate that back and get right back in the game and not even miss a beat, be just as good. Where back when I did it, no such thing. So they wouldn't let me play football anymore. And that crushed me. That devastated me. Like, poor me, and cried like a baby, and they would only let me play baseball or basketball because they consider those no contact sports. Basketball is more contact on your knees
tell that to Jordan.
than anything. Bang, bump, jump, bump, bump, turn, twist, a lot of wear and tear. But I figured out a way instinctively how to rehab it and strengthen my knee. And I don't even know what I was doing, but all I know is when I've had this knee MRI'd, I've had the guys who read it go, I've never seen this before. So I don't even know what I did. There's a lot of things I've done with my whole DDPY program. And, I don't call it yoga because it's not just yoga. It's kind of a fusion. And I don't want to confuse people by calling it just yoga. DDP yoga or DDPY, then they understand like it's something different. And I've become like, kind of like, I would say I'm an expert because I know how many people I've helped and turned their whole lives around
Yeah.
by telling them what I think they should do. I've figured out I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physiotherapist, but because I was constantly healing myself, I'm really good at rehab, and I'm even better about breaking up scar tissue and building strength in those little muscles.
So let's jump ahead in the story then. So you became a nightclub manager, which is a fascinating story, and you've got your whole story in the book here. Then you get into by opportunity. Opportunity knocks when you're doing the work. You got the opportunity to become a wrestling manager. Then that kind of goes away and you may have a chance at becoming a wrestler. What was going on in your mind at that point, particularly given your body? And you
Well,
were 35 at the time, I believe.
35 and a half. I finally made it to the show. Like there's two places that were the big show, the WWE,
Yep.
well, WWF at the time, and now everything's WWE. But Vince McMahon's WWF and Ted Turner's WCW, both like on a pedestal of like huge ratings on cable television. So that's your goal to get there. That's where the money's at. That's where everything is. And I got there as a manager, and meaning I talked for other wrestlers. But when I got there, by the time I got to that top spot, because I had the long hair and the crazy clothes and the bling, like no one was wearing bling like I was doing it in the 80s, like I was doing it. And the way I talked and just command, the presence, and I had these girls called the Diamond Dolls. So the bottom line, as a manager, I was too over the top for professional wrestling, if you can imagine that. But as a wrestler,
Yeah.
not so much. So when they told me after 5 months that they couldn't let me manage guys anymore, and I was doing color commentating on some of the shows, but they were like the shows at 4 a.m. in Moose Breath, Iowa, places like it wasn't like a prime show. So I knew that the next guy to retire would knock me out of that spot. I had 7 months left on my contract. I went down to what we called the power plant. The WWE has a performance center now, but it's the post journey of the power plant where the guys were learning how to wrestle. And I went down there and started training, and they beat the hell out of me, mainly because they try to run you off. Yeah. And they didn't think I could do it. So people laughed right in my face. Like, dude, what are you thinking? It's never going to happen. It's kind of like, it would be like me saying, I'm going to become a ballerina and I'm going to dance on the big hall, on the big stage.
I just saw a picture of Hulk Hogan in a pink tutu last night.
One of those, classic movies that he did. But my point is, it takes a lot of training.
Yeah.
Like, it was going to take a lot of work. And Positively Unstoppable, I talk about it. And I'm not trying to give people parts of my history of my life because I left out a lot. But I wanted to show them the adversity that I overcame and how they can do it too. Because it doesn't really mean anything if you've got an inspirational book where you're going, wow, these stories are amazing. But how do I do them? Well, that's what I think that, Positively Unstoppable is all about. It becomes almost like a workbook to a certain degree to help teach you, how to eat, how to train, how to change, more than anything, how to change the story you tell yourself. And that's really what it all comes down to. Because when I went down to that power plant and everybody laughed at me and no one believed in me, one of the threads through Positively Unstoppable is no one has to believe in you. No one except for you. One of my quotes is never underestimate the power you give yourself. Never underestimate the power you give yourself by believing in you. That's power.
How important was it for the doctor or doctors when you were a kid to tell you you weren't going to be able to do it. You weren't going to be able to heal. Your knee wouldn't be strong. How powerfully did that help positively influence you?
Well, in the beginning, it knocked me down, and I almost believed it. But once I started to get on the basketball court, which, by the way, I sucked at. I mean, I was the last guy picked if I got picked, and I realized, so what's great about basketball as opposed to baseball? Baseball is a great game, but you have to have guys to play with. As basketball player, you can dribble it. You can do dribbling exercises. You can shoot layups and hooks and foul shots. You can play by yourself with imaginary people. And what I learned that summer was I played 5, 6 hours a day, every day. Didn't matter if it was raining, didn't matter. I was on that court every single day. And what I learned was work ethic equals results. It was the best teaching tool I ever had, and didn't realize it till I had the results a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later.
What's the importance? Because if we back up a step from work ethics equals results, we need a powerful decision, don't we?
Absolutely. The word decide, it's Latin origin. It means to cut off all possibilities. Like, this is going to happen. I'm going to make it. Like, a lot of things I approach with failure is not an option. Like, it's not. Like, right now, our positively unstoppable challenge is $1 million. You could have a chance to win $1 million. Like, I can't screw that up. Like, we had to think it all the way through. And a lot of things we do, we're doing them for the first time.
Yeah.
So making that decision to do something that's effectively going to be a lot of money, you want to make an impact. So when you make that decision, it's not like, maybe I'll stop. No, I'm not going to do that now. And so many people start and quit. And in their mind, one of my favorite quotes ever is, if you say you can or you say you can't, you're right. And then I'll ask people, do you know who said that? Most people don't. And it was Henry Ford. And then I said, well, what the hell did he ever do? Like, God changed the world with, that was his creed. That was his mantra. That was part of the story he tells himself. Like, you can, and we can do that, and we'll make it happen.
Since you're talking about commitment, whether you think you can, whether you think you can't, there was an early wrestler who was an amazing positive influence on you, who then you were helping try to come back. I'm talking about Jake the Snake here. And he didn't have a firm commitment. It was 3 drinks. I could take 3 drinks.
That was the beginning.
Tell me about this, and then what was the commitment he made, and how does he change?
You have to go back to it. Without Dusty Rhodes, there is no Diamond Dallas Page. Without Jake Snake Roberts, there is no 3-time world champion.
So take us back to Dusty.
Yeah. Well, Dusty came into my life. First of all, he was bigger than life persona. He's right up there. He's up in that cloud above me. One of my friends painted that for me.
Yeah.
And me doing the Diamond Cutter side, Hall of Fame, and Dusty at the top. Like, he was super influential on my life. He was my mentor just about all my career. And he smartened me up to a lot of things. I'll tell you a story about Dusty Rhodes.
Sure.
In 1994, I was so frustrated because it's not like boxing. When you're a boxer, you get bouts. You go out, you knock the guy out, you're on to the next bout. You knock that guy out, you're on to the next bout. In professional wrestling, it's predetermined. It's a show. But people believe, not in per se, it's all real. There's a lot of realness that we put in between it. Then one thing you got to say about professional wrestling is you can't fake gravity.
Yes.
Like, gravity will beat your body up more than anything. And so, the realness of what we're doing is trying to make, it's like stuntmen, actors, ballerinas that are really physical. And we're trying not to kill each other, but, it gets real fast out there sometimes. But the bottom line is, It's predetermined. And if you don't get certain wins over certain guys in the storyline, you never really get the people behind you. So I was super frustrated, and Dusty was letting me vent. And at some point, I said to him, I said, Dusty, I know I'm never going to be you or Flair, Ric Flair, or Hulk Hogan. I mean, I know I'm never going to be the world champion, but they won't even give. And he went, Dallas, enough. And this is how he talked for like exactly. And he said, D, what did you just say? And I said, now I feel kind of stupid. I'm like, well, I know I'm never going to be you, Dream, or Rick or Hulk. And he goes, no, D. What did you say after that? I said, well, I'm never going to be the world champion. They're never going to do that. They're never going to put that on me. I'm never going to get that award. He goes, then what the hell are you doing it for? He said to me, Dallas, if you don't believe as hard as you work, if you don't believe that you could be the world champion, D, you need to get the hell out of our business right now. And I swear to you, Michael, it was like he reached to the phone and just slapped me across the face. And he kept talking, and I really can't remember exactly what he said after that because I wasn't really listening because it was so powerful what he just said to me. But I remember exactly what I did. And, this is 1994. And, the phone was there. It was the cord phone. And it had a pad next to a ledger pad. One of these gimmicks was sitting next to the phone. And I grabbed that phone, I grabbed that pad, and while he was talking, I wrote, I will be the world champion in 5 years or less. It was 4 years, 4 months, and 14 days when I stepped in the ring with Sting, Flair, and Hogan.
April 11th, 1999.
It was a great day, man. It was super surreal to me. Super surreal to me. And afterwards, after the match, after everything was over, I'd walk into our locker room, and Hulk was sitting there, and both his knee braces were like on the ground, and he's soaking wet, just sweating his ass off, and he looks up at me as I walk through the door, and he says, this is the way it's supposed to be. This what our business is what it's supposed to be about. That a guy like you no one could see it. No one believed in you, but you did. And you worked so hard to get here that you would walk, because it's like our Oscar to be awarded that world championship title. And he said that you should be able to work so hard that you should be our world champion right now. He goes, I'm super proud of you, bro. And he gave me like a big hug, and it was emotional, man.
He was one of your I think it was in Germany that he spoke with you and said someday, maybe a few years from now, we'll do some things together.
He actually said that he goes, I believe that you and I can draw money, big money. He said, you just got to keep doing what you're doing. And then 4 years later, he's on the Tonight Show with Dennis Rodman, and I walk in from the wings with a guy named Karl Malone, who just happens to be the second leading scorer of all time in the NBA. And we shot our angle, not on the wrestling stage. We shot that angle to get the people going on the world stage, the Tonight Show. I mean, you talk about manifesting a dream into a whole different reality. Pretty wild, man.
So then,
it was the second biggest pay-per-view that World Championship Wrestling ever had.
What's interesting to me, and I want to get back to Jake in a minute, is when your opportunity really came, you've been working your tail off, but you are also a master chess player, because you ended up to jump into that arena from bad guy in a sense to good guy as everybody's switching over to the other side, so to speak. You were playing a lot of chess, weren't you?
It's really funny how it all worked out, because it's almost like I feel that God kind of puts these turns in front of you in your life. You can go left here or right there, and left here and right there. And sometimes if you do it the right way, all the planets like kind of line up. And then you've got like this, it's right there. Like I could never have dreamed that it would have been like this. Like I'm going to segue, and I'm sure we'll come back to it. But a perfect example. It's not in the book because it literally just happened to me 2 days ago. 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Since I've been doing my DDPY program, I've worked with top college athletes. I've worked with Temple University, the Cavaliers, UVA, University of Virginia. I got one of my guys, all the UCLA Bruins, the football team, are all doing my program.
Sweet.
They already just called me and asked me to come out. I've worked with people who are crippled and disabled and help them not just walk, but run again. Disabled veteran Arthur Borman, everything filmed. I've worked with women. I've worked with men. I've worked with kids. I've worked with one of my friends, Ted Evans. He was 68 when he started working with me. I saw him last night. He was just getting ready to go in his fifth class, 5 days in a row. He's 84. So we're all over the gambit, But I've been wanting to work with the NFL and those players because, like wrestlers, I already got the WWE. I work with all the young kids and a lot of the guys who are currently top guys in WWE and the retired guys. So I've got that. But I want the NFL because I love the NFL and I love football, obviously, for a lot of reasons. And a friend of mine named Kent Backler hooked me up with this guy named Kyle Richardson, who is the president of the chapter in Baltimore. He loved the workout so much. Of the NFL Alumni chapter president, Kyle Richardson, he made a call to the guy down here in Atlanta, Andrew Bolton, and he made a call to the president of the NFL Alumni. It's about a year and a half ago. Yeah. Bottom line is, they just did a press release 2 days ago that DDP Yoga is now in a partnership with the NFL Alumni. On that night, I swear to God, on that night, and by the way, I'm in Atlanta. This is where the Super Bowl is this year. The same night, and I can't pronounce his last name, but it's Jerry Skilipsky or something like that, writes me this email. He writes it to info@ddpyoga.com. And he talks about his injuries and he heard about the program and he sees that not only will it help break up scar tissue and create flexibility and alleviate pain, it'll strengthen his body too. Like he's been, in professional sports his whole life and he'd never seen this. And I'm reading this as he gets to the bottom. He goes, "I look forward to hearing from you." And it has his name and it says quarterback coach of the New England Patriots. Like he didn't even know that we did the deal with the NFL Alumni. Didn't even know. He just saw the program, went to our ddpyoga.com site, saw it and said, "Okay, this could be something for me." Wrote me directly on my info@ddpyoga.com. And I was like, oh my God, it's like the perfect storm. So now I'm going to go to Radio Row down here in, where the Super Bowl is. And one of the things that everybody's going to want to talk about is what I'm doing with the NFL Alumni to help these guys get back some mobility. And because there's a lot of the guys are so beat up. And when you're really beat up and you can't do anything, you start putting on weight and you can't get around. You start to lose all that confidence. You lose your swag. You're in a lot of pain and you're suffering. I can help them with a lot of that. And I just know I can.
Awesome. And congratulations. And it speaks to your path and your commitment and your belief in yourself. What's the importance of the question, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail?
You know, that opening to the book and the line right before that is, what would you do if you knew your success was guaranteed? In other words, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Like, I can't tell you, Michael, how many people that I will come across that say either, God, I got your program, man, I love it. But I also talk to people, and they might be at a workshop I do. I do one. I've got one coming up in New York City when WrestleMania hits. I've got one coming in Baltimore again that I'm doing. And this is inspiration meets perspiration. It's all shapes and sizes, all ages, all colors, all creeds. It's like the biggest. There's 100+ people at all these things when I do them, and we're going to work out with me. And I'm going to take you through everything, baby steps, and I'm also going to make it really challenging for the people who want that. Bottom line is, I will have people go, I got your program, man. I got it a couple years ago, and I go, and so now you're here to do a live. Well, I haven't done it yet. What do you mean? You invested in it and you didn't do it. Why didn't you do it? I'm afraid I will fail. Like, the only failing part is not opening it. You know, Winston Churchill said, success is moving from failure to failure without the lack of enthusiasm. Mm. Like, you've got to be enthusiastic. Failed again. Okay, get back up, keep moving. Like, everything I've ever done, I've failed at numerous times. Like, I think it was, that thing I know it was Edison who said, and it's about the story you tell yourself. Edison didn't go, 10,000 times I failed making the light bulb. 10,000 times. He went, 10,000 ways I figured out the light bulb doesn't work like that. Like, that's the story he told himself. Guy invented more stuff, way more stuff than a light bulb. Way more stuff.
Let's go from 10,000 tries to the stories we tell ourselves to Carney Wilson of Wilson Phillips.
Well, great lady. But she tended in the beginning when we were together to, like, I'm the queen of the excuses. I love this food or whatever it would be that, like, she'd give herself reasons why she couldn't do something. And after being around me for a while, it would change and it'd fall back, change and fall back. I just talked to her recently, and she's really doing great because now she's finally owning it. And it takes time. It takes time for some people because in their mind, it's got to take time. Because the bottom line is it doesn't take time. Like, if you want to shift, you can change your entire blueprint in an instant. But you've got to keep doing it. It's all about the repetitions of affirmations. One of my favorite quotes ever is the repetitions of affirmations leads to belief. Mm-hmm. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. And, when I ask people if they've ever heard who said that, and you read it, so you know who said that, they have no idea. And I said, well, I'm going to tell you what he said, and you're going to know who said it. Like, what's the odds of really thinking about that? Like, what's the odds of people are watching right now? The repetitions of affirmations leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. Now, I was going to break down the repetitions of affirmations. That doesn't have to be positive. They could be negative
well, we're doing that all day long.
Right. And like, for me, when I was inducted in the Hall of Fame, before I walked out there, I hadn't been on a stage like that in 15 years. There's 20,000 people out there, millions of people watching on USA Live, and millions of people watching on WWE Network Live. So it could have been that could have all been in my head. Like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. What if I screw up? What if I forget what I'm going to say? What if I freeze out there? Like, that could have been my affirmation. But I understand that that's not a good idea. Yeah. Like, I understand that this is going to be my affirmation. This will be the greatest thing I've ever done. I'm going to blow people away. I'm going to make them laugh. I'm going to make them cry. I'm going to inspire them. And that's the only voice in my head from the minute, I woke up that morning till I got there and stepped on that stage. So this guy, the repetitions of affirmations leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. For those of you who are watching, this is what he said. I am the greatest. I am the greatest of all time. And people are going, oh my God, Ali. Of course, it's Ali. But how do you know that? Like, how do you know that that's his affirmation? Because he said it a billion times. He said it to anyone who would listen. He said it to himself since he was a teenager. I mean, that's the power of the mind. That's the power of owning it.
Let's go from there and let's talk about that's the flip side of this exact coin. Can you tell us what a negative BS exercise is? Because we've got to get rid of some of this stuff.
A lot of times I'll say, fake it till you make it. Like, you don't even have to believe it yet, because there's a really good chance you're not going to believe it in the beginning.
Muhammad Ali is a kid. I am the greatest.
I mean, the story of Ali is someone stole his bike.
Yeah.
That's how it happened, how he got into boxing. And he wanted to find that kid and whoop him. And the police officer said, why don't we take that rage in the ring? And he just thought the kid would get it out of his system.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need that too. But obviously it was a bigger picture than that. But if that guy never takes him to the boxing ring, who knows if that ever happens? If the kid doesn't steal his bike, I'm constantly telling people, you can't just thank God for the positive things that happen in your life. Because when something really negative that just wipes you out, if you really look back at how you react to that, I always say, in our personal lives and our professional lives, each and every one of us are constantly hit with one adversity after another, most of which we have no control over. But the one thing we have total control over, if we work it, if we exercise our brain, and that's about putting that positive affirmations in there and tooling it and working it, we can control the way we react, how we adapt, and how we take action. And to your credit, breathing has everything to do with it. How you breathe. I've been to Iraq 3 times, Afghanistan once, to see the troops. And wherever I end up that night, I do my DDPY program with them. But along the way, I'm taking pictures, signing autographs, and talking to them. And at some point, I do my talk that I do. And part of it has to do with breathing, because it's so important. When I learned how to breathe, like owning your breath is, man, that's when you're on your way to owning your life. And like in this scenario, we're talking about Iraq. I was there in 2003. That's the first time I went. Back then, it was like cowboys and Indians. Not a lot of celebrities were going over there. But I went with my buddy Rob Dibble. And I can remember telling him, like, when it hits the fan and everything's going crazy, who do you want to be standing next to? The guy who's like this, okay, all right, what do we do? What do we do? Or the guy that's going, dude, you need to breathe. Take a deep breath. Because what happens when you can do breathing, you can control, like a cop pulls you over. Here's the example. Happens to the most innocent people. Cop pulls you over because you were speeding or something. By the time that cop gets to my window, which hasn't been in a while, knock on wood, and cops love Diamond Dallas Page. It was really awesome. But by the time that cop would get to my window, I'm breathing in and out for 20. Before I step onto a stage to do whatever acting, before I walk out on that stage to do my my acceptance speech for the Hall of Fame, or if I'm speaking somewhere, before I ever walk on the stage, I'm literally breathing. I started with 3
Mm-hmm.
and out for 3, and then I go to 5, and then to 10. And by the time I walk out on that stage, I'm literally breathing in and out for 20. And there's something that happens, and I wish I saw an article in it one time, and I've never been able to find it again. But there's something that happens to your brain when you're just filling your whole body, and really it's your diaphragm with air, and you're controlling your breath. It just really centers you at a different level, and it gives you that calmness and confidence. And breathing in the beginning, like when I first started doing this 20 years ago, I my nose, I could barely breathe through it because I've been broken so many times.
Yeah.
And, my wife at the time was like, "You need to breathe." "Yeah, I can't breathe. I can't do it like that." Again, say you can, and you say you can't. And anytime I'd ever say it, she goes, "You always say you can't do it. You're right." I go, "All right." I wasn't ready to do it yet. And once I really learned the power of your breath, man, it's changed my life. Like, I think that's the most important thing I've ever learned, how to breathe. Because a lot of times it does hit the fan. And when it does, who do you want to be next to? I want to be with a person who's breathing and in control and going. It's why they brainwash, and it's a powerful brainwash that they do for the flight attendants. Like when that plane starts shaking like crazy, when you think I'm going to die, and everybody breathe, it's okay. Everybody calm down, calm down. Like everybody else, when that stuff. And I've been on some bad plane rides.
Yeah.
And I just breathe. I just breathe.
Interesting synchronicity. I'm reading your book here this morning, getting ready for the interview. We've got an Inspire Nation show. That's what people are listening to. Before that, we had done made a program that's mindfulrunning.org, which is basically putting the breath, mindful breathing, to running. So you're not running like this, but instead it all comes to your breath. And my wife came in this morning as I'm reading this, and she goes, do I have time to interrupt? And I'm like, I love you, but I'm in a deep dive. And she's got, I've heard some really good news for you. I'm like, okay, what is it? And she goes, we haven't really done much with mindful running in years. And so I haven't even looked at it. But did you know the mailing list for mindful running that you haven't done anything about, which is all about breath-centered running, is actually bigger now than Inspire Nation show? The breath.
Wow.
All about, and I just heard that maybe an hour ago before this interview, all about the breath. So I want to go there to a difficult topic. And I know we've kind of skipped on a few things. We might have time to double back. We might not. 1999, you were both on top of the world, and it was the scariest. You had the scariest experience of a lifetime. How did you start to come back from that? And maybe even how the breath helped you?
I hadn't really learned to breathe yet at that point. You're talking about when I blew my back out? Is that what we're talking about?
Absolutely.
I didn't know what it was. I felt like someone shot me in the back.
What happened? Because we're talking 7 feet up here.
Yeah, well, my buddy Kevin Nash, it wasn't the bump that he gave me. It was like the proverbial straw on the camel's back.
Yeah.
And it just my body said, okay, boom, you're done. And I just signed a multi-million-dollar 3-year deal. And if I didn't wrestle, that contract would have got beat up badly because there was all sorts of clauses and and you have to understand, up till that point, I'd never really gotten paid. So now I'm in a spot where I got a multi-million-dollar deal. It's going to go away. And not even so much the money I just got to that spot of being that top guy, main event guy, that I wasn't ready to walk away yet. I mean, just got there. And so after I stopped feeling sorry for myself, I think everybody's got to go down. The key is you don't stay there.
Mind if I pause you? For people who don't know, your friend Kevin Nash lifts you. He's 335 pounds, lift you over 7 feet in the air, because he's no short guy himself,
He's 6'10".
tosses you to the mat, and 3 of your vertebrae, and I heard L5, L4, L5 myself. Okay, so you got the same ones as I got.
Yeah.
They basically blew out or blew in,
Right.
as
It
the
was
case may be.
like this. God gave us this amazing vertebrae,
Mm-hmm.
and in between it are these amazing discs. You know, they're amazing shock absorbers. And it would think of a disc, think of a jelly donut, and then go, no more jelly donut, no more discs. They ruptured, they imploded. So now bone on bone, no little disc in there. So again, and they wouldn't operate. You know, they would if I if I wasn't going to wrestle again. But they were telling me, like, you're going to be. I was 4 months from 43 at the time, and you know, I had to figure out something. And when my wife at the time asked me if I wanted to try yoga, I'm like, I'm not doing that. You know, I'm the guy who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga the first 42 years of my life, basically because of ignorant, you know, being ignorant and, you know, thinking it was something really that it's not. It's, you know, guys don't want, especially super macho guys, which I would consider myself one of them, you know, but more of a Renaissance man today. But I've been that guy. You know, they don't want to do a chick workout. And yoga, and it still is to a certain degree for over 30, you know, except for the guys who get it. Mm-hmm. It's seen as a chick workout, and it's not. I mean, if you go all the way back to where yoga comes from, India, it was warriors, 100%. Like, women were not allowed to do yoga. So that's the fascinating part about it. But long story short, she got me to do it. And in 3 weeks, I felt a significant difference. Now, it was very frustrating for me because there was no modifications. I had to figure that out, but I did. And that's what made it even better for me, because I did figure it out. And then about 3 weeks in at night, I started to mix the rehabilitation techniques that I was doing. I've had both shoulder surgeries, both knee surgeries. Like I said earlier in the show, I know a lot about breaking up scar tissue and helping to rehabilitate your body, because I've done it all. And again, for myself. So I just mixed them. And then I threw an old school calisthenics done with a slow burn movement. And then I created something that I don't know anybody who does. I have you flexing and engaging like every muscle as you're moving. Like, I can take my heart rate from, you know, 80, 90 to 130, 140, standing still, just raising my arms. But I'm also engaging my feet, my calves, or my quads, or my adductors. And this is science. Every time you flex or engage a muscle, your heart has to beat faster to get the blood to the muscle. So you're laying down, your heart rate's lowest ever. Sit up, the heart rate's going to go up. Stand, it's going to go up. Walk, jog, run, sprint, up, up, up. I do that standing still. And it's a lot of time under tension. And you can tell because you wear a heart rate monitor and you can see it as it's actually going up. So in less than 3 months, I'm back in the ring. At 42 years old, those 3 spine specialists told me my career was over. At 43 years young, I'm heavyweight champion of the world. Given our biggest honor, it's like our Oscar. And I had it 3 different times. And it was an amazing run. And I knew that I was going to do what today is known as DDPY the rest of my life. And I just started to share it with people. And what's really fascinating, and I talked about this earlier, you can't just thank God for the positive things that happen in your life. This looked like this was the most negative thing to happen in my life. They're going to take away my dream. You're going to rip it away and tell me I'm never going to be able to do it again. Multi-million-dollar deal, going to disappear. Like, this would look like the most negative thing ever. It turned out to be the greatest thing, not only to happen for me, but to everyone that's associated with me.
What do you tell people who say, but Dallas, you've done this your whole life. You've come back. You're a pro athlete. I'm just a me.
Yeah, well, I've got a bunch of me's throughout the book. And it was funny because, I call a spade a spade. And I went on to Amazon
Yeah.
to just to see what some of the reviewers were. And a lot of them were really awesome. A lot of them gave me a review like you did. But there was one person that I saw, and she wrote, I didn't, how did she put it? She felt like I didn't deliver what I said the book was. And then she said, she was called By DDP Yoga. That was the subject title. She gave it 2 stars, and she said it's a good book, but it's it's more of a book about DDP yoga. It's an infomercial. That's what she called it, an infomercial for DDP yoga. And as I was reading it, and I thought, well,
And I
she'll go
want to
down.
jump in. I love this book, and it found it incredibly inspirational. And it's filled. We didn't even get into all the how-to stuff. So I'm defending you here. You don't even need a defense, but I love it.
But let me finish what she ended up saying. When I saw that, I think to myself, she's going to go to the bottom. Well, then people put, you have it on Amazon. That this review was helpful, and then I watched it go from 2 to 4 to 8 people that found it helpful. Well, that means most likely you're not going to get the book because of what she said. And I started thinking to myself, wait a minute. If you do a movie or write a book about Steve Jobs,
yeah,
Apple will be all the way through it. To be perfectly honest, I didn't even want to put DDP yoga in this book because my whole life is that, and the regular people, that were lost, like literally lost without hope. I explained to each one of them, the ones I've dealt with, as important as a DDPY is, as important as the eating plan is, it's 10% of the equation. The 90%'s right here. It's that 6-inch piece of real estate between your ears. That's what I talk about all the way through it.
Please forgive me for asking this. How did you wrap your mind around writing this? That isn't what you grew up until 30 as your skill set. It's awesome. How did you get your mindset around this?
Well, I had help because it's nothing like, I could, here's what they wanted me to do.
Yeah.
Because it's grammatically, this book is grammatically correct. I couldn't do that, but so I had a guy named Ian help me with it, and my business partner, Steve. It's all of our philosophies. Me and him, like Steve Yu, who I thank in the book, who's the president of my company, the smartest human beings that I know. He's tapped in. He was the director of The Resurrection of Jake the Snake. And if you've never seen the documentary, The Resurrection of Jake the Snake,
and I haven't. Reading this, I want to go check it out.
And it's about 3 wrestlers, but it's not about wrestling. It's about the lives and what happened with my 2 buddies that were literally waiting to die. And it's super emotional. It's dark because it deals with addiction, but it's super inspiring. And Steve Yu is a director. He took 500 hours of filming and turned it into the best 93 minutes you will see on an inspirational documentary. And that's what it was. It was the resurrection of Jake the Snake. And Jake was the guy who taught me the dance. Like, after you know the moves, you think that's the hardest thing, like to learn these crazy moves that we do. But then when do you do them? How do you tell a story? How do you get the people who know that me and the guy next to me know who's going to win before we walk out there? We know that they know that I know that they know. How do you make them care? Like, that's the secret. And that's really the Quan to light. how do you make people care? And that's what Jake, in the ring, he taught me how to tell a story. And he didn't tell me like, okay, here's how you do it. He'd let me screw up and fail, and fail and fail. And then he'd give me some advice and I had to figure it out. And that's what made it powerful. You know, people will say, God, it's so hard. It's so hard. Change the meaning of the word. It's the hard that makes it great. Like, can you tell me a thing in your life that you've done, Michael, that you didn't have to work for, that you hold in this high esteem?
Wouldn't mean anything.
It doesn't exist. When someone, there's over 70% of the people who win the lottery end up 10 years later back in the same job that they had because they were given it. It was a chance. It cost them $1 or whatever it did, but they didn't have to work for it. And when you don't have to work for something, you don't hold it in the same regard. And when you lose that weight, or you be able to run, or you turn around and you when no one says you can do it, and then you do it. Like I had a guy, one of the guys who gave me my first break ever was this guy named Greg Gagne.
Yeah.
And he was in the AWA right in 1988. In 1994, 1993, he was down and working for WCW, and he was a super great worker in the ring. He was really amazing. So now he's teaching the guys, and there's the coach is going to go to the guys they think are going to be really good, but the guys like who no one really believes in, they don't get as much time. So bottom line is, one night we were out at a bar. And he was there, and we were talking. And I said, dude, I go, why don't you like me? And you gave me my first break ever. And he's like, I don't dislike you, Dallas. He said, I gave you your first break. I go, exactly. I go, then you just don't think I have it, do you? You don't think that I'm ever going to make it, do you? And he said, honestly, no, I don't. And I said, what don't you think I have? And he thought about it. And then he said, charisma. And I burst out laughing. And I go, dude, you're going to tell me anything, but not that. And I tell you this story because I've told that story over and over again. What that did was light a fire under me. One of our good friends, Gene Oakland, just passed. And Greg and I were there. And I held no negativity to Greg or anything because it fired me up. He lit a fire under me. And I super respected what he's done in his life. But he came up to me at the funeral. He shook my hand and he said, Dallas, he goes, I have to say this. What an amazing career you had. And he said, I haven't been wrong about many of them, but I was wrong about you. And I want you to know I feel bad. I feel bad about it. Yeah. I go, Greg, I think you're awesome, dude. I go, believe it or not, it just lit a fire under me, man. And that's a good thing. And then I got pulled up, people pull us away. And then we went to the bar to celebrate Gene's life. And I was getting ready to leave. And he came up to me and he said the same thing. Like, it's really important to me that you hear me on this. Because I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, I gave a huge hug because now I consider him like a really good friend. Like we've talked, a couple of times since then. And he's actually working on something for me right now. But like that was so powerful, And again, didn't think you had it. But then, what a man! Like that's what that takes, to be able to say that. And like I said, I've always respected him. And I mean, it pissed me off at the moment, but it lit that fire. And that sometimes people, they need that. Other people, that really takes them down farther. It doesn't have to.
So we've got to start wrapping things up. This is brilliant, but I've got to ask one more story because he has lit a fire under so many people, and I believe you lit a fire under him. Actually, that fire may have already been there with the emails going back and forth between the two of you. Arthur Boorman, can you tell us his story? It became one of the most viral videos ever, and has lit a fire under so many people.
Back when I first did my first DVD, this is 2006.
Yeah.
So 13 years ago. Everybody who invested in a program, I would write them myself. And I had a cut and paste letter and I said, hey, thank you so much for getting the program and believing in me. I'm not trying to sell you anything. You already got the program. I just got 5 questions. He just happened to write me back the best answers ever. I wrote him back. I said, man, thank you so much. Never had anybody get in that much detail.
Yeah.
Sound like you need some help. What's your story? And he wrote me back. The cliff notes were morbidly obese, disabled veteran, 100% disabled veteran, relegated to thinking of himself as a piece of furniture. I was like, wow. So I had him send me pictures of where he started. And knee braces, the back brace, the wraparound canes.
Mm-hmm.
The canes is what really threw me. I'd never dealt with anything like that before. And so I sent him an eating plan that a guy named Dr. Fred Bishey had developed. He's my brother's mentor. This is 12 years ago. He's 90 today.
Yeah.
He's 78 at the time, can still run 20 miles on the beach. I don't know what he does today, but back then, it was just a warrior. But he came up with this food plan. It was literally about putting food in order and stuff. And it's a good version of what my phase 3 is, but not as much detail because I don't think a lot of people can handle it. But Arthur couldn't walk.
Yeah.
So I sent him, but he was 5'6", 297 pounds. So super stocky. And I sent him the plan. His only goal at that point is to lose 50 pounds. Mm-hmm. Because if he loses the 50 pounds, the VA will finally operate on his knees again. So when I sent him the food plan, if he'd have sent me back, I think I could do it, or I'll give it a try. It'd be awesome. Keep me posted. But he didn't write that. He wrote 4 powerful words. I can do this. I said, send me your phone number. And that's the first person I ever talked to that I didn't know in 2007. And 2 weeks later, he lost 20 pounds and is 4 inches off his stomach. But I knew that 4 inches off his stomach was because he was bloated. But I'm not going to tell him that. Let him feel the power of that. And he asked me how he could keep it going. And I was like, listen, bro, you're doing like Biggest Loser numbers back in 2007, 20 pounds in 2 weeks. That's a lot. And he said, how can I keep it going? I said, how often are you doing the program? So I'm doing it 5 days a week. I said, do it 7. I said, matter of fact, do it 2 a day. Like 2 times a week, do morning and night. He goes, can I do that? I go, dude, I built from 20 minutes a day to 3 hours a day. That's how I got back in the ring. And he was like, all right. He built up to doing an hour in the morning, 7 mornings a week, 5 nights a week. You got to remember, his goal is to walk again more than anything. He lost 32 pounds the first month, 22 the second, 18 the third. That's 72 pounds. He lost 140 pounds in 10 months. More importantly, he lost the knee braces, the back brace, and the canes, not just to walk, but run. Probably between YouTube and Facebook, because so many people have shared that video and it just went viral so many times.
Never ever give up.
Yeah. And it's, if you look up Arthur Borman, or if you go to ddpyoga.com, go to the bottom of the page, it's right there. But it's probably got 500 million views. I inspired one guy. He inspired millions. And what came of that? What came of that is not only did he lose the knee braces, back braces, and canes, and 140 pounds. The really crazy part is he's never had the knee operations.
Yeah.
So that showed me that real food can heal your body. Like I've helped people get off like 30 prescriptions. Because when people they got a whole bag of their prescriptions. Like a lot of, I know a couple of doctors But most doctors eat like garbage. Like they have no idea. There's two, if you're watching me today and you're still on this, here's the two things you must do: watch Food Inc.,
Yeah.
watch Genetic Roulette.
Yeah.
When you see what they did to our food, you'll know. Like my DDP Yoga Now app, not only do I have 180 plus workouts, because every week another one goes up. They start in bed. Like you can't get out of bed. Well, I got 3 workouts for you in bed that'll help you get out of bed and then sit in a chair and then do the workouts in the chair. I got 8 of those right now. And then I got another 6 where you're using the chair. Teach you how to modify all different ways. Then you go to beginner, intermediate, and so on. I've got cooking shows that everything is GMO free.
Yeah.
Everything is gluten and dairy free. I don't care how healthy something is. If it doesn't taste amazing, I'm not eating it. So everything tastes unbelievable. Then I've got motivational Mondays every Monday. There's over 180 of those up there. 180. And then there's the tracking: your weight,
yeah,
your pictures, your measurements, your pain, blood pressure, blood sugar, A1C. And then there's the book, Positively Unstoppable. So it's like a complete package. And when you go on the app, and this is what I wanted to show you.
So, and what's the URL so people can find this?
Go to ddpyoga.com.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay.
App.
So I'm going to show you. When you get to the end of your workout, it's going to say to you, are you sure you want to stop? Because sometimes you'll hit your app by accident and it turns off.
Yep.
Well, this lets you know. Are you sure you want to stop? You go, yes, I do. Okay. Boom, hit that. Now it's going to say, how challenging was that? Well, let's say that workout I just did was a 4.
Yep.
So watch what happens when I do this. 4. So it becomes a video game. Right here, it's showing you how long were you not in your zone.
Yep.
17%, I wasn't in my zone.
Yep.
37%, I was in my perfect fat burning zone. And 46%, I was in my anaerobic zone. Now, that means you're not just burning fat, you're burning muscle too, but you're also creating conditioning. Now, over here, tells me how many calories I burned.
Yep.
724 calories. And how many points you get. Because if you're using the DDP Yoga Now app, you get points. So when you get to 100,000 points, well, then you get a shirt, 100K club, Unstoppable Club. So, I make it fun. When you get to the end of the 13 week, it becomes like a 1975, I guess it would be about, 85 video game that you have to see to believe. Like we put so much thought and time into this, and we try to make everything fun. There's live workouts all the time. There's a ton of them up there.
Thank you so much, Dallas. This has been a lot of fun. I use something like that for a meditation, actually, watching my points, how much time in the heart coherent zone. So I love this concept. I think those metrics and gaming it can make it much easier to people. So this has been a fascinating interview, and I want to encourage everybody to get Positively Unstoppable. Are there any last words of wisdom you want to share with people today?
There are people who want to help other people, and I always tell people who get depressed and feel, worthless sometimes. There's a lot of people who feel like that way. If you help somebody else, like it'll blow your mind how much better that'll make you feel about yourself. And because you get it, Michael, it's almost like I'm selfish in this area, because I've created this thing from nothing. I didn't create this for yogis because I figured yogis had when I got done, out of wrestling, I could have stepped into the yoga world pretty easily. But all those people get yoga. I had to go to someone who was like me and create something for the people who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga. It's why I do so many slant difference that just make it different so that they can more adaptable to what I'm doing. And then it's all that believability factor. Never underestimate the power you give someone by believing in them. And like I said earlier, even more important, never underestimate the power you give yourself by believing in you. Michael, this has been an awesome time. I appreciate you having me on. And if you guys out there want to be positively unstoppable, if you really want to learn how to own it, and I tell everybody, go to Amazon. Like my book people were like, no, you can't do that. It's books are everywhere. I go, no, they're not. Amazon will get it to you. It's the best deal if it's Amazon Prime. So go where you don't have to pay as much money for it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dallas. So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get positively unstoppable, and begin owning your life today and shine bright.
Woohoo! Bang! Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!